Hey, what's up everyone, Morey Croson here, and today we're going to be going over the most common loads of the shoulder, elbow, and wrist when it comes to throwing the football, and we're going to hop the video right now. Alright, so I really think this is going to be an important video to understand just because there's so many different styles that quarterbacks end up utilizing in order to throw the ball, and for you to be able to kind of understand what your style is and be able to connect to it, just also understand some of the pros and cons I think will be important as you continue the journey of improving your mechanics. So first thing I'm going to go over is just going to be kind of my mechanics here. When I go and I throw, I really get more of like a lower load. I kind of drop that ball a little bit lower, and then I come right up over through, and I really try to make sure to get over the top in my actual delivery. So I'm here and I'm trying to come down and through, and making sure that as I release with more of my index finger coming through and around. And before we get into the next part of the video, if you've been liking the information so far, go ahead and click that thumbs up down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you have any questions, comments, recommendations, go ahead and leave those down below. We're gonna get right back in the video right now. The other big thing that we'll see with quarterbacks is that quarterbacks will try to come more across with their hand and their throw. A lot of times when that happens, it ends up being a lack of ability to create rotation in the lower body, and also really getting out wide within the throw. And then when they're doing that, they'll come kind of across. So that is a one way to throw. I'd say that it's a lot harder to be accurate when you're coming across the body, so that's going to be one of the main cons, where when you're coming up over the top, it's a lot easier to be accurate, which is going to be one of the main pros. Now when you go and you bring the ball lower like that, it's going to just add a little bit more release time. Where if you keep the ball up here, that's going to decrease the release time, which is good. Another big thing that we'll see that also helps in being able to decrease release time is going to be just coming right up and through, right? So just coming right through here. A common thing that I'll see with quarterbacks that just go right up, like the Dan Marino and Joe Montana, that's kind of this, they have both similar releases. Even Tom Brady's like that. He doesn't really load the wrist like this. He just kind of comes right up and through. Common thing that I see though is that a lot of quarterbacks will actually load and come back here with the arm, which is going to make it so again you're going to end up coming off around. You're going to have that wrist in not a good position. You do want to have that wrist in a more neutral spot, right? So then you're able to come more down on the ball. If you have the wrist down off to the side, then that's going to cause you to kind of come around, or it's going to just make it so you just can't really get much of the wrist into the throw, right? Big thing is you want to be able to have that nice wrist snap. Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, they talk a lot about having a really strong wrist snap. The way to do that is to be able to get to a neutral wrist position as you're releasing the ball, right? If you're off to the side or your wrist is not in a strong neutral position, you're not going to be able to get your wrist into it. You're not going to be able to flick the ball. How you end up getting into a good wrist position is going to be how you initialize the load and making it so more of the ball is going straight back and coming up over the top rather than going back behind you like this, which is going to cause you to again come around just like so. Now, another common thing that we see within the wrist and how to kind of load the wrist is when you're coming back here and you transition and start driving that elbow through, there's going to be a moment in time where the wrist actually bends back like this, right? Once you end up bending that wrist back though, you want to immediately get work to be able to get back on top within that area. There'll be some people that will end up really allowing that wrist to kind of drag and that elbow to drag, which will make it so then again you might end up having to push the ball. You won't get the wrist in the right position. And there's a few different ways of how people kind of bring that wrist back too. Like some guys will go with the ball more like that, kind of bending the wrist this way, right, instead of bending it back this way. Some people will just not even really bend the wrist and will just kind of come right up and through. Again, that will not be as effective as actually loading the wrist. When you come back, being able to get this wrist to a good position and then being able to bend will make it so then as you finish through, you'll be able to get more wrist flick. You don't want to end up limiting the ability to actually bend the wrist. And then if you end up bending, a lot of times how you load is going to be how you actually, deliver the ball. And so if you load with the wrist going too much like this, and that will really get the nose of the football to face up, then when you come through with the throw, you're going to end up going a little bit more off to the side with the nose of the football, right? So now when you go through, the ball is going to end up going more off to the side a little bit more rather than coming more straight through. You can actually have success with that, so you can still bend like that and still get that wrist through, right? But it's not going to be the same as when you get that neutral and come down. So I just like to prefer more of that wrist flick and coming through like that with the index finger. But you can technically go like that, almost like you're throwing like a curveball, which they say throwing a football is more like throwing a curveball anyway. So you'd still be able to make that work, but it's a lot harder to make work is when you come across with the body. Another big thing that we'll see is going to be like the elbow drop. So after going and loading, the elbow ends up coming down, right? And that really makes it so then you end up a lot of times kind of pushing the ball. And that's gonna, I want to say a big thing that you want to try to avoid is not allowing you to really push the ball up. So as you're throwing, you don't want to feel like your body is going upwards and trying to, you know, extend the ball going up and forward. You want to be coming down on the football the best that you can as you're finishing, which is going to be the big difference between almost like a pulling action in the throw rather than a pushing action in the throw. And a lot of times the reason that quarterbacks will get there is either, you know, not being able to get a good load in the elbow wrist, right? Or not having the range of motion within the shoulder to allow them to come up over the top. So you really have to be able to build up the right shoulder range of motion to be able to get good external rotation in the arm in order to really master being able to get good external rotation here, right? So the more, the lack of external rotation ability to bend back here will make it so then you can't get as good of a control of the elbow as it's coming through. You'll end up having the ball a little bit further back, which will make it so, you know, the elbow might be a little bit closer to your body, which once that elbow gets closer to your body, now it's going to cause more of that pushing action. The more you can kind of get that elbow to be away from your body as you're transitioning through, right? You want to keep it as this transition's happening is when the body or the elbow wants to get away, and then it comes right back to, you know, the ear position, head position as you're finishing. But there is going to be a time where you do want that arm, hand, elbow to be away from the body, which helps in generating that momentum and rotation in the body. If you're too close, too compact, then that's going to make it so you're not able to generate as much force. You really want to be kind of wide for a second as you're creating force and torque, because that'll make it so then you can get a lot of power behind it. I just want to go over a few of the main things that really go into being able to throw the ball well and consistently. I do these breakdowns, which will give you a little bit more of an understanding of some of the key critical points within the throw that really make a big difference on your ability to throw the ball far, ability to throw the ball accurately, and also the ability to get the ball out of your hands quickly. I think those are all like the three most important things for quarterbacks, and I think that that's also some of the biggest problems that I see with quarterbacks is not having an understanding of how to get the ball out of their hands quick, how to be accurate, or how to throw the ball far. And we do that within our program. So if you guys want to check that out, we have all the links in the description down below. And if you have any questions for me or anything like that, you could also find my email down below in order to reach out to me. So as always, guys, thanks for watching.